I got to wait.
And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey, Joseph. How are you, man?
Hey, Spencer. Normally I say can't complain, but no, I can't say that. I've been better, but it's okay. It's
Well, I just
the
wanted to
new
let
year,
you-
or not
let
New
you know
Year,
that
it's
I'm so-
Happy Holidays. Sorry?
Can I speak about? I mean, you posted this on Facebook.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm sorry for your loss. I know it's like
Thank you.
to lose a beloved pet. All of my pets are gone. So
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
sure.
Thank you.
Look,
For everyone listening in, I had to, my little buddy of 8 years, my dog, not came down with, but he was diagnosed with advanced cancer, and he was already on the way out, and so we had to make the very painful decision of sending him on his way, and so we did that yesterday. So our Christmas this year is pretty, yeah, you can imagine, not the best, but we're thankful for what we had with this dog and what he brought to the family, and yeah, onward and upward.
How about
Moving
I
forward.
really bring down the room? So you lost your dog the same day on the anniversary of my mother's death. How do you feel about that?
Conflicted?
Yeah, I hear you. 29 years.
Yeah, so-
Anyway,
Wow,
well, hey, guys, and Mr. Londas, thank you so much for the compliment, as usual. Crying out loud. 888-659-3727. Look, guys, this is the Hair Loss Show. Whatever you believe, whatever you think this is when we first come on the air, we chit-chat a little bit. We provide you guys, and we've been doing this for quite a long time, with a safe place to talk about an issue that society does not allow us to really talk about. You know, Joe, I decided to put up some more content on Instagram, and that page is slowly growing. You know, I guess all I have to do is actually put content on there, and it
helps.
and it grows.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing that I'm getting more followers and more comments and stuff like that, which, by the way, a year ago I would have thought was a big pain in the ass, but now that I want to start getting more content out there and kind of come out of my semi-retirement, I'm finding the time to make it happen and answer people's questions. We're used to people who listen to the program or follow us, you know, on your channel or whatever, or maybe download a podcast. They seem to be, you know, a little bit more informed about the reality of going under the knife. While you may not see that, you know, people do call in, they seem like they're kind of novices to this game. The DMs and the questions and the comments on Instagram, now that I'm posting a little bit, are fucking insane. I mean, the lack of like basic knowledge that these guys have who are just about to either have surgery or take some sort of a product, or, you know, I mean, just the belief system that has, I guess, evolved or devolved about how to treat your hair loss on social media. It's fucking insane. Like, I see it. I see what's going on. But when it's coming into me and these people are actually disagreeing, saying, no, you know, I see these great results coming out of Turkey and, you know, this whatever place that has 4 million, you know, followers on Instagram. And all you have to do is take the test ride and you get a hair transplant any time. I'm just like, look, I'm not doing this for my fucking health. It doesn't help me in any way to tell you guys to hold off having a fucking hair transplant. There's no monetizing end game for me to do that. I'm just here to provide you guys with the information you need to make a better informed decision. I'm not here to have an argument with you guys on fucking Instagram. You want to have a hair transplant at 21 because you see some guy who just had his work done and you're seeing his after pictures. You think he looks great? Then do it. I got no skin in the game.
You said something really basic. They're ready to go to Turkey or to go wherever, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or wherever, to get a hair transplant because what they're seeing on the clinic's Instagram looks really good. Pardon me if you're one of these people, but these dipshits have no idea what even looks good means. You have no clue what a good hair transplant looks like. And you're going to hop on a plane or you're going to drive a few hours or whatever to go get a hair transplant where you saw a couple of results where the clinic posts images of their patients that they took themselves while they're sitting in their car with shitty lighting, zero detail on the hairline, and a hairline shape that you just don't see. You don't see them on men. You don't see them on women. You might see them on a silverback gorilla at the zoo. And that looks good.
Well, that even be let's put that aside for a second. Forget about their level of aesthetics or their knowledge of what looks natural or doesn't. If they think that this looks good, they see this as their option. Like, look, I'm losing my fucking hair. I can fix this. So I'm going to fix this based on these images that I'm seeing on Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok or whatever, or based on thumbs up or, so-called influencers, talking about their experiences and all that happy horse shit. I get it. I was going through this one company's feed, and I'm like, this shit looks good. Like, if I was 22 years old, my ass would be on a plane to Turkey yesterday to get this done. Now, I mean, maybe, I don't know if that's true. I would say most guys who are that age or in their 20s would do that. I had this weird wherewithal, and I was able to step back. But honestly, when I was doing my initial research, you didn't see anything that looked that good. You weren't being bombarded with these images. You had to search them out. You had to go to these people's offices. You had to look through their fucking dusty, photo albums of fucking Polaroids. And flip it over before and after. You had to ask to meet patients, and you had to do a lot of legwork. This is just being fucking streamed into their feeds because this is what they're looking for. And they're seeing image after image and video after video of people who are happy. But what they're not seeing is if these clinics are doing 100 cases a week and they're only able to post maybe, 4 or 5 happy patients out of those 100. You're not seeing all the complaints and all the concerns and all the complications and all the infections and the MRSA and the other bacteria and all the other shit that these people are dealing with. That's not being talked about. Mm-hmm. That's not what you're seeing. And if you don't think that could happen to you, come on. Odds are, out of all those cases, you're going to be the one that's fucked up.
That's the way it works.
So I'm just going to keep trying to explain that. And when people say to me or they ask, well, I mean, you have an organization and you founded the American Hairloss Association, the IHRS. Exactly. That's the point. Why do you think there's only, 60 some odd doctors on the IHRS? Because most people who are in this industry suck or they don't give a shit. And even the ones that are providing consistent results, you're still taking a chance every time you have cosmetic surgery. So just accept the information that we're providing you with and really try your best to step back from it and say, wait a second. Why is he talking about this shit? It's not to get leads for the doctors who are part of my organization. We don't do any leads. There's no lead generation.
There's no form to fill out to have a consultation with a doctor of your choice.
Right.
I hate that. Hate that. That's
Well, what
so
a lot of
messed
these,
up.
I'm not calling them idiots. A lot of these doctors don't even realize is that that's actually questionable as far as HIPAA is concerned. So if someone really wanted to stand on their neck about this, put their brood on their necks about this. I mean, it could be a problem. But anyway, forget about all that shit. I spent after the conference, I'm like, I'm going to put up some content, see what happens. And boom, question after question after question after question. Mostly DMs, which is, I don't understand why these people are DMing me. Just write it in the, if you have a question, write it in the comment section. But it's like as though they don't believe me. It's some sort of magical, like I'm someone from, an archaic time. He doesn't understand the reality of the state-of-the-art hair transplant surgery because now it's a fucking, hair loss is an option. Being bald is an option. And if you can find the right facility to fix you, you can go on with your life and be happy and healthy and have a great interpersonal relationships and never worry about your hair again. So anyway, anyone who's just listening, anyone who decides to listen for the first time because of these Instagram posts, which I don't know, I didn't even post about the show, understand that unless that patient that you are looking at is 5 years out minimum, you have no idea what his result is going to be. Had a guy, I'm sorry, go ahead, what?
And you certainly have no idea what it's going to be like in 5 months, because you're talking about the you mentioned the maybe 5 results on a Instagram account from a clinic that does maybe 100 a week. I've seen some that don't even have that, and it's just nothing but immediate post-op shots with the goofballs doing the thumbs up with the technician or the doctor.
The doctor with his arm around here, and the guy just has a freshly implanted hairline.
Yeah,
like
I did that with the latest video I posted where I'm featuring a patient that was a 1-day post-op from Dr. Bisher in Turkey. He just happened to come in. It wasn't even planned, and it's like, hey, you know what? Let's talk to him. And at the end, I'm like, dude, thumbs up. You got to do the thumbs up. You're in Turkey. He started laughing. He knew exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, it was funny. But that's majority of what you see. And
I'm just reading some of the comments. I like to read what Mr. Rolandes has to say, and he's right. You can get a great hair transplant in Turkey, and there's a handful of physicians who are doing incredible work on a consistent basis. But I have to tell you, they're more expensive in general than all these other companies that you see really pimping themselves online. And I got to give these companies credit. They built these incredible marketing machines. I've never seen anything like it. It's never existed in this field. The only thing close was the old Bosleys and medical hair restorations.
Yeah.
And the hair club. Yeah. But this
and
is...
even those, they don't even come close in comparison.
No, this is next level shit, man. This is next level. Like I'm watching I'm looking at their stuff, and I'm getting an erection at the hair porn.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous, and it's smooth, and I can see why these kids are they're fooled, man.
I'm of the opinion that the greater battle for hearts and minds for education's sake is lost. There's just way too many clinics, way too many, young people that don't even know about us. And when they do know about us, it's like, okay, so the path of least resistance to what I want. Listen to these guys that have a combined experience of almost 50 years, or listen to this guy who's telling me that for $1,500, I can look like this guy, and I'll have a limousine pick me up, and I'll stay at a 5-star hotel, and I'll get the hairline I want, and it's 3 times more hair than these other guys are saying they'll move for me.
what is it called? Confirmation bias, right? I mean, that's essentially, when you want to, when you want to be helped, and I understand it because I had it at the beginning of my hair loss journey. You want to believe. I'll tell you how fucked up my situation was. Based on images and a video and sitting down with this guy in a white coat, I almost signed on the dotted line to have a wig sewn into my scalp.
Your scalp, yep.
All right? I actually asked to see one of these guys who had it done, and I guess he recently had it done, and I was like, holy shit, that looks like it's growing out of his head. And then...
Was that going to be tunnels?
No tunnels. Actually, sutures.
No tunnels. Actually sewn. Okay. Yeah.
And in your mind, you're not told, A, you don't really understand it's a wig. You don't understand the hygienic issues, the hygiene issues. You don't understand that this thing's going to look like a rat in a week on your head. This guy had it freshly done. He was a little swollen, but I'm like, wow, I mean, this looks really good. And he's like, yeah, I'm really happy. It really wasn't that painful. I'm like, all right. And I'm like 22 maybe or some shit. I drove all the way out to New Jersey to check this out. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. I'll get back to you. But I was like convinced. And then I'm like, I'm thinking about it. And then this guy calls me because he thought he made a sale. And I said, I may consider getting a frontal hairline placed before I decide to do something like this. And right now, I don't have enough hair loss to get anything done anyway. And he was like, you said you were going to sign up. I have your contract ready and everything. It's all typed out. I'm like, sorry, dude. What do you want me to say? I don't want to have it fucking done. Click. Now, I was a young kid and, impressionable to some degree. I mean, I guess maybe because I'm a Jew, I kind of, I had to grow up early and learn how to do business. As all the anti-Semites would say, that we're cheap and all that stuff. But the reality is we do get an education at a young age on how to handle yourself and how to make money. It's the way it is. So maybe I don't think he was prepared for my willingness to just kind of back away from my verbal commitment. 2 weeks later, these guys are in the news. I swear to you. Local news in New York City that I don't know if it's the feds or someone cracked down and because of so many complaints about infections and just people getting fucked up by this. It was a pretty big deal. Anyway, guys, that was a long story that I could not make short. I know Joe's busy communicating with you people, and I don't want to put him to sleep. So I'm going to take some phone calls. 888
Thank you.
659 3727. I mean, we're doing a show here. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? And where are you calling from?
It's Morty from Brooklyn.
Morty from Brooklyn.
Morty.
Happy Hanukkah, my man. How are you?
Thank you, sir. And just to Spencer, may the memory of your mom be a blessing to you and to your family forever. And to Joe, the same for your pet. Hopefully that you made some cherished memories, and that those will stay with you forever.
Thank you, my man. My mother's been dead longer than I guess at my age. Yeah, I've known. How do I phrase this? I have been without my mother longer than I was with my mother. That's how long ago she died.
Yeah, I bet you still miss her though. I know I'm dealing
not
with
really.
something similar.
Yeah, of course I do. I mean, I grew up basically. I had no mother.
You're a Jewish kid. Of course you miss your mother.
Yeah.
How could you not? But yeah, I get it. I'm dealing with, my mom actually just had her birthday yesterday. She just turned 86.
Amazing.
So that's nice. She's actually staying with my sister this weekend. So that, yeah. She's hanging in there. She doesn't like dealing with what she's currently dealing with, but I mean, she's happy to be around the grandkids. So that's great. So that's,
dude, when I get to that point, just fucking put me out of my misery, yo. That's how I feel about it. If all I have to look forward to is to be around, my grandkids, which I'm not going to have any of, just put me out of my misery. If I can't fuck and eat and enjoy something about life, then there's no point.
Yeah, and that's one of the complexities of that situation. But I don't want to beat around this. The other thing, of course, I want to share with everyone is that I had my second pass last week Tuesday. So
congratulations,
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Now, for all of you young guys out there, I mean, Morty had significant hair loss, but this is his second surgery in what, 2 years?
Yeah, basically, it's just a little over a year before the previous one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So all of you kids, you think that even if you're not as significantly bald as Morty, that you're only going to need one surgery for the rest of your life. You're fucking delusional.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, what's really important for those who are listening, I was a Norwood 5A, which basically meant that I had no hairline, and the mid-scalp was pretty much bare, and it was nipping at the top of my crown, basically. And one of the things that's really important for people in my situation is you don't want the clinic that's going to promise you a one and done. You don't want the clinic that's going to come at you and say, "Oh, we could do 5,000 grafts in one sitting." You definitely don't want that, because you're basically firing all your gun, all the bullets in your gun at once. And if you've got a problem, you basically have no recourse. You can't really go back to the well. I had two procedures. The first procedure was pretty close. It was almost 4,000. It was 3,900 grafts. It was a big procedure. And the second procedure was a little bit smaller. It was about 1,750 grafts. And I got to tell you, it was getting pretty close there. Dr. Cole basically said, "You basically don't have any more head hair left." So I'm very pleased with the coverage I got. But I mean, if I need to do anything else, it's probably going to come from my beard. I'm hoping and praying that this is it. I don't want to have to go back into the well again.
Well, why would you have to go back? That's the question. I mean, the transplant that has been performed should look like, the point of being able to offer a highly refined, state-of-the-art hair transplant is that even if it's not completely filled in, that transplant should be standalone and look 100% natural and improve the person's appearance.
And I will say this, that my first pass was, and I know you guys have seen pictures of it. The frontal hairline was very natural. The only work that really went in this time around was to fill in the top of the crown and the rear part of the mid scalp. Those not really addressed in the first surgery. For specific reasons, and the other that was probably about 900 grafts went there, and then the remainder went back into the areas which had been seeded previous to kind of increase the density. My hair is what's known as a fine caliber hair, and while the hair that was placed in the first pass looked natural, it didn't really have as much volume as would have been nice to have. So it was more of a nice to have. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to turn out. And you're right, absolutely. A good hair transplant doesn't necessarily need to address everything, but ultimately it should leave you with something that looks like it could happen in nature. And I could definitely say that my first pass was exactly that. It looked like I had a little bit balding in the top, but it looked natural. It looked like naturally occurring balding. Same thing with the hair in the front. It all looked very natural. And I was very pleased with what I had. This was a case of a doctor wanting to engage in perfectionism, which my doctor definitely did.
Well, you are a walking billboard for Dr. Cole at this point. You're a regular caller of the program. You're out there, and people know this is. This was a guy who was significantly bald for a very long time. And now look what he looks like. And he wants to make you as perfect as possible. Yeah, and I get that.
And I'm very grateful for it. Believe me. But again, I think it's really important. I remember going back, because I've been calling the program for a couple of years back, and one of the things that you guys told me up front was you should never go for one and done. One and done is a mistake. It's dangerous, and chances are it's not going to work. And anyone who's promising you one and done, especially for significant loss, is doing it for the money, because ultimately they're charging you per graft. So there's a huge incentive to pull more grafts rather than less. And that basically means that, hey, we're interested in filling our pockets the first time around.
Yeah, but even if they don't use a significant number of grafts, even if they say it's a reasonable pass, 2,500, 3,000 grafts, a lot of companies will say, it looks like we can get away with 2,500 grafts, you should be happy, just to get you in the chair.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, look, and it's just, this is the nature of the industry, and honestly, as long as people are prepared and understand what to look for, what questions to ask, it doesn't matter what these people do. They're not going to be able to pull the wool over your eyes. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's why we provide this information. What I've learned is there's maybe a handful of doctors who will go along with truth in advertising and not. Listen, I've even dealt with IHS members that I've had to remove from the group over the years, who I find out are like upselling liposuction on the side while someone's under anesthesia, or who has been caught writing himself prescriptions under his patients' names, and all this happy horse shit. This one particular doctor is a big grand poobah who had an issue with writing prescriptions in one of the big organizations. And this is the reality. So if patients go in with an open eye, not just like, oh, who does good work? I'm seeing somebody say, in the chat, I like the work of Patrick Mwamba. Great guy, one of the most ethical guys out there. That's great. But you could like the work of somebody, and that guy could end up being a piece of shit and not doing the right thing. And I'm not saying that about Patrick, because he's one of the sweetest, nicest guys in the industry. I mean, really caring.
I've always liked him.
Yeah, really caring, dedicated fucking doctor. So, and you could see his work. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good choice if you like his work. But there's a lot of work that you'll see online. It looks good, and then you realize, oh, I just ended up in a mill, and this is like maybe 10% of the cases that this particular clinic does, and it looks great. So anyway, I went off on a little tangent there, but the whole point, Morty, is these kids need to be educated, and it's it literally is like twisting their arms. Like, how far out on a limb do I have to go to make this happen? Do I have to become like an influencer, like spend all my time creating fucking content, getting out there, just so that we can compete with, all the insanity out there? I think that may be the case. I may have to hire a crew to fucking videotape me all day and put shit online.
Well, you're an entertaining guy, Spencer, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, but I have a life. The whole point of retiring 9 years ago, essentially retiring 9 years ago, and just throwing my shit up online with Joe or whoever and not having any real control over it, I didn't want to deal with it.
I get you. Well, somehow I get the feeling that you are going to deal with it because you've got a good soul and you really care about all of us Norwoods out there. And the same thing goes for you as well, Joe. Also wanted to tell Joe that I really enjoyed your video on Dr. Beecher, and for those watchers, you should definitely watch it. Great video, and also a good example of what to look for in a hair transplant doctor. You want somebody who is basically going to do one patient a day if they can. You want 100%
I'm not saying that's bad advice, but there are really great clinics with great doctors who they're able to do 2 patients in a day, and because they have the right staff and the right team. So that's a possibility. But in general, you'd like to go to somebody who is doing basically you are their patient.
I like to qualify it by saying someone that's got enough staff and enough time to oversee things properly. And I understand what you're saying, and one thing that for some reason I've been confused with saying this. I don't know why. I've never said this. Is that one patient a day is the only way to go? I've never said that ever, and that would be hypocritical for me to say, because my own clinic that I cut my teeth on, Hassan Wong, routinely do 4 a day, 2 per doctor, sometimes 3 per doctor, depending on, So it would be hypocritical for me to ever say that.
Yeah, I think 2 is probably. Yeah, I was going to say I think 2 is probably the max, where you've got a major and a minor, like you've got a big one and a small one. Something like that per doctor. I think that's probably the what I would consider to be an acceptable bit of volume. Anyone who does double digits or triple digits, like you were talking about earlier, are clinics to really look out for, because you don't know what you're going to get in this situation.
And again, like I think Joe's right. There are exceptions to that rule. There really are, Morty, but it's rare, man. It's fucking rare. And most of these guys, look, we just did a conference. I'm going to give you guys an example, which is hilarious. This is hilarious to me. So
that's right. Congrats on the conference, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Did you sneak in somehow?
No, I did not.
You could be honest.
No, I didn't. I swear to God. I would have loved to, but I didn't. No.
Yeah. So, we have a lot of people who attended, okay? And only about 10% of the core hair transplant surgeons signed up. So say a little over 300 core guys. When I say core, the majority of their practice is hair transplant surgery. Some of these core guys, aren't great in my view, and they're just kind of like involved with the ISHRS, and they just wanted to see what was happening. So everyone else is non-core. So what does that mean? They have other specialties. They're plastic surgeons or facial plastic and reconstructive surgeons or dermatologists or they're internists or ER doctors who want to get into the field and they want to learn. So Dermatology Times did a little piece on it, and that, it exploded as far as registration, which was great.
Yeah.
So I'm looking. I just happen to want to see what's going on, see who signed in, when they signed in, how many times they signed in, and so we get a readout. And I'm looking for my faculty, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on here?" So only a certain percent. Let's put it this way: some of the people who had to contact us because they couldn't figure out how to sign in were the core hair transplant surgeons. Not necessarily my faculty. Some of my faculty just didn't sign until after the event because, they can sign in on demand. But people who are associated with other organizations, not the IHRS, maybe because they've had experience signing in. But it was only the core hair transplant surgeons that somehow had trouble logging into their accounts. And I'm thinking to myself, what does that speak to? As far as the people who are getting involved in this field full time, how come the dermatologists and the ER doctors and all, none of these people had trouble logging in or needed instructions? It was only the core guys.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know what that says about people who are spending all their time doing hair transplants, but
all I'm going to say to that basically is that they're really good at doing hair transplants, and that's why they're core. They aren't necessarily core because they know how to log into.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even think there are 200 worldwide who are really good at this, and that is a big statement. Joe got some shit online from some unknown Indian doctor who basically said that he thinks that Joe is prejudiced, or Joe and I are prejudiced just the doctors that we work with, and that's we only talk about them. Well, who else are we going to talk about? I never heard of this guy.
Yeah.
How are we going to talk about you? Did you ever apply to be a hair transplant mentor, specialist, doctor of the world, or whatever you are with Joe's group? No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You reap what you sow.
Yeah. So anyway, first of all, I want to say that I'm so happy that you got your second pass. I know it's going to turn out well. You showed me the images. I was a little busy trying to get the conference ready, and I just keep hearing ding, 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 ding. But you look great, man, and I'm really happy for you. And I have to say, I'm sure that it's improved your overall outlook on life.
You know what? It is impressive to look at. I actually sent day of surgery photos to Joe at admin and hair transplant insert, because I know there were a couple of people in the chat that were asking to see them. If you want to show them, you can. If not, that's cool. We can move on to the next caller. One other thing that I wanted to mention was.
We do have calls in the line, so we're probably going to move on eventually, but maybe we'll show it a little later. But go ahead.
That's fine. One last thing is that I had a chance to take a look at the TED today, actually. So I got a chance to see what that was all about. So that's sort of interesting, too.
You know what's interesting? John was going to do a talk, okay? So these guys are technology contributors. We have a couple of people who did some talks on TED who they feel that it's impressed. John was going to do a very, I felt, unique talk about it. And he writes me and he's like, my son's not around to record. He's gone fishing.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the fuck, man?
What happened to the software that all the doctors are using?
Put you in the program. Open your laptop, have your camera on, use the piece of software that we told you to use, and you can do a great PowerPoint presentation with your face in there, like half the other crew. Because I think people are looking forward to that talk, and everyone likes to see John Cole talk. He was kind enough to provide our opening remarks this year, and I mean, what he said was just—it was great. I mean, he thanked all the right people. He was very it was just a good opening remarks, and people are looking at the program, and all of a sudden there's no John Cole. So last minute we got to take him out of the program.
Oh man, dude, I'm going to mention that to him.
Well, what are you going to do? Beat him up about it? I'm just saying, we were just disappointed.
I said I'm mentioning.
You just had a transplant with him.
Yeah,
I know. Well, I mean, he's love the guy. He's a prince among men as far as I'm concerned. A very, very caring individual. I mean, hell, the guy even gave me a Christmas present for God's sake. So I've made a great friend, and it's thanks to you guys, to be honest. I wouldn't even know who John Cole was if it wasn't for you guys. So
all right,
there you go.
Well, don't thank us yet. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't see why. The first transplant turned out fantastic. I mean,
Yeah, don't thank us yet, my man. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
But I'm glad.
All right,
I'm glad everything is going well with your transplants and your relationship and all that stuff. I'm glad you got a chance to see the TED. It looks kind of like hocus pocusy, doesn't it?
Well, it just seems like it's you go ahead and you do a single pass over the scalp. It basically blows really high speed puffs of air at the scalp. I mean, if that's the kind of the layman's view on it, and then
it creates a sonic waves while blowing this really strong air.
Well, that's what the sonic wave does. It's just it's like hammering with an air hammer almost. It's just really. Really fast.
Well, but it's essentially opening up. The top layer of your scalp, but basically
the stratum corneum. Yeah, it's breaking it up.
Thank you. See, he's always got to one up me, Morty.
Well, I'm trying to
he's plugged into the background of this stuff, so
no pun intended.
He's exercising his knowledge.
But it is interesting how it creates these channels in your scalp where this. It's almost like it's non-invasive mesotherapy.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt like, because I some time ago, and I probably still have it around, I have one of those Dr. Pens, those little microneedling machines.
Yeah.
And when I see it working, it kind of has that same like feel in terms of like the noise it makes and so on. So it's sort of like microneedling without making holes, or the holes are, I guess, really, really microscopic is what these things is doing.
It's not making any holes, actually. It's not piercing your skin in any way. It's basically just opening up the natural channels. Like it's kind of like bricks that are like they're put together without the mortar, and they open up and they close when you put the sonic waves. It's kind of it's almost like a sonic toothbrush. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting technology. I'm not sure how effective it is in the long run. I mean, I did have one of the main, I guess, I wouldn't say it's a clinical trial, but one of the main investigators on. I interviewed her, and she saw some pretty amazing results. And images that I saw just from her clinic were like impressive. But who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the ingredients and the stuff they're putting in. It seems like there's a fair amount of vehicles in it. Like there's castor oil, there's propylene glycol, there's a bunch of all your basic essential amino acids are in there, and there's whatchamacallit. I believe there's supposed to be some growth factors, although that wasn't in the list of ingredients. It was just mentioned that it was there. To me, it's almost like there's two things going on. There's the actual stimulation of the skin with that. I think that alone probably may do something. And then there's the stuff that they're putting in. I know that Dr. Cole wants to try to experiment with other substances rather than just cosmeceuticals.
There are docs that are now using topical dutasteride and finasteride with the system, and creating like a mesotherapy cocktail to see if they can induce hair growth, and then provide people with either topicals or get them on oral. And it's very possible that this is something that could work with non-inflammatory. Or inflammatory non-scarring alopecias to get corticosteroids in the scalp without injections, stuff like that. So it's interesting technology. That's why they were considered select technology this year at the Global Hair Loss Summit, and we'll see what happens. But Morty, go ahead. I'll give you one last. I'll let you finish your thought.
What I wanted to say is the one thing is, as opposed to mesotherapy, is that you don't have to worry about numbing somebody up to do it. And from what I was able to see, it's pretty painless and pretty quick.
Yeah. And
so
Morty could open his own clinic. You don't even need a doctor to do it.
That's kind of one of the other interesting bits about it. Yeah. And thank you, Spencer. I appreciate the wish. Chag Sameach. We've got a couple more days of Hanukkah left. I want you to have a wonderful Hanukkah. And to Joe, I want you to have a Merry Christmas. And to both of you, I want you to have a Happy New Year. And may 2023 be the year for all of you. And Joe, are you going to get a new pet, or are you done?
I'm done for a while. Yeah, done for a while.
You could always hang out with him.
I don't think it's the right time.
No, it's too soon. It's for sure too soon. All right, guys.
All right, man.
Thank you so much. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Take
Love
care.
you guys.
All right, take care.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thanks, buddy.
888-659-3727. We do have a line open. We'll take your calls in a second. Joe wants to say something.
Yeah, I want to address at least one of the comments in the chat area. There's one of our faithful followers and I believe a subscriber. His name in the chat is written in Russian, but it translates to Sergey. Sergey asks you and I, he says, or you and me, do you think there are patients who are poor responders to dense packing? Follow-up question, they get poor growth in great clinics if the density of implantation is like 40 to 50, but respond well to 20 to 30. And thanks, Mr. Rolandis, for giving your input on that. But Sergey, the issue, I've spoken about this before on the show and in various episodes. The thing with dense packing is you'll have a lot of clinics. I don't see a lot of clinics publicly talking about this very much, but I do see copies of correspondence from consultants at various clinics all over the world, and a lot of doctors actually as well with patients, and then of course a lot of those come to me eventually, and the claims are made 50, 60, 80, 90 grafts per square centimeter. And there are a lot of variables that go into dense packing and the success of those cases, whether it be a positive success or not. And you asked about genetics, and it very well can come down to genetics. And so here's what an experienced, talented hair restoration surgeon will do before they even attempt to dense pack their patient's hairline or wherever they're going to be placing grafts. They will make some test incisions first. And what they're looking for is they're looking for two things. They're looking for the amount of bleeding that's occurring from the incisions, and that indicates the blood flow. It tells the doctor whether or not the vascularity of that specific region is healthy or not. A lot of times patients don't have enough vascularity to support dense packing. But the other thing they're looking for is they're looking for tissue integrity. What do I mean by that? Well, when you make two incisions or multiple incisions too close to each other, the tissue itself might not have the integrity to maintain those connections in between the incisions. In other words, if you make two incisions side by side and there's still some connective tissue in between, it can fall apart.
Disintegrate.
It can just dissolve. And instead of two really small, say 0.6 millimeter incisions, be it with a blade or with a needle, once that connective tissue dissolves and falls apart, you now have a 1.5 millimeter diameter or width incision. So it's a really big incision, and you don't want to dense pack with that, because that's when you start running into issues where the grafts just don't stay in. If there is a vascularity issue, if the doctor doesn't have the experience and doesn't understand vascularity and doesn't start doing test incisions, then you run into issues of necrosis, which I'm seeing a lot more of over the past, I'll say, 5 years, where patients are contacting me with their photos and asking. And a lot of times they're posting them in chat groups on Facebook pages or, where have you, Reddit, whatever, and they don't even realize they have necrosis. I saw one, I forgot where he posting it, and he's like, yeah, I just had my surgery, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Pretty happy with the progress. What do you guys think? And everyone's like, yeah, it looks great. Yeah. Meanwhile, I see an area.
There's like a scab of Italy on his head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nearly the same size as well.
Yeah.
And no one said anything. No one's like, oh, yeah, you probably should go see a dermatologist about this. If your doctor's nowhere near you, contact your doctor, find out what's going on. No one said that. And I had to contact the patient and say, you really need to contact your clinic. If it's not anywhere nearby, find a dermatologist that can have a look at this, because while it's rarely devastation for the long term, it's still something you want to have looked at and treated, because ultimately infection sets in, and that's the thing that can spread and cause issues. But ultimately, necrosis, if it's addressed properly, it just winds up being scar tissue. You can transplant into it 1 or 2 more times with just a couple small sessions, and it can usually address the issue. So it's not like a lifelong battle scar, if you will. But yeah, those are some of the issues that come from dense packing, and how experienced physicians will look at it. And it does come down to genetics in a lot of the cases where the genetics doesn't allow for enough vasculature that's naturally built up in a specific area, or the skin integrity is not that which would be conducive to successful dense packing. I hope that answers your question.
And it's interesting. I'm just reading. I love to read Mr. Rolandis' comments, and he says, generally speaking, in forums, people don't say bad things. That may be something brand new, but I can tell you I think the most dangerous and the most damaging part of, especially the old school forums that I believe still exist, is that people are making people either feel bad about their current situation, or they don't realize that images that are being posted by physicians, all these physicians have permission from these patients. And many times, patients will ask, where are you going to be posting these images? And the physician will post some images, or the clinic will post some images, and people just go fucking nuts on these patients or on these doctors, not realizing the patient is reading this shit. And that has been a consistent theme since the forum world, which I think is the most toxic fucking world you could ever enter, has been in existence. And the forum, many of the forum people, some of them, there are some good ones out there, some nice guys, honest guys, but they leverage this, in my view, and from the experience of other doctors, to extort physicians, to bully patients who complain. I mean, the shit that goes on behind the scenes is fucking ridiculous.
There's one development that literally had my jaw, I can't say on the floor because that's not physically possible, but it had my jaw open when I read what was going on, which it indicates a strong, what's the word I'm looking for? A strong, I'll just say, change in how at least one of the forums is operating, where no doctor is safe now. And it blows my mind. Like I was completely blown away by how this forum decided to deal with an issue. No doctor safe on this forum, and Yeah, it's I was telling you about it before.
Well, look, you know, I've been asked by you and some other people to let's do something with Bald Truth Talk. So everything's revamped in the background. We're going to be essentially relaunching it. It's still so busy. Like so many people still reading the old shit. I'm like, all right, we'll make it happen. But the rules are going to be set. No bullshit's going to be fucking happening. It's going to be made clear that physicians who are posting their stuff, there's no sponsorship to the fucking forum. You know, if there was sponsorship to that forum, which makes me laugh, we would have really kept that thing going. But I hate the fucking forum.
Yeah. Yeah.
The forum could disappear. It doesn't change my life at all, except it makes it easier. But we will be doing some stuff with it this year, and everything's already set. So we're going to make that happen, which is good. Yep. I think if you guys want to use it, that's great. But no bullshit, man. You know, there's going to be no fucking bullshit. We're not going to be putting up, what do you guys think about X, Y, and Z? Or what do you guys think about? It's not the way it works. Not the way that it works. There's not going to be the peanut gallery discussing people's results or discussing people's careers or none of that shit. It's ridiculous, man. It's not helpful to patients who are really looking for honest advice. It's just a way to control a particular environment and to, I guess, essentially, I used the word already, extort money from physicians.
Mm-hmm.
And it's totally unnecessary. Now, with that said, there are some really nice guys in the forum world who do not do that. But that is the exception rather than the rule of a lot of these types of places. And I'm not just talking about in this industry, but this is the industry that I know. Cosmetic surgery is similar in many ways because I was involved in it to some degree. I was asked to get involved in it, and I stepped back. I was like, shit, this is worse than hair.
Yeah.
When the company came to me and they wanted to, and they were already very successful in the non-hair world. Now they're more successful. I mean, they picked up steam. But initially they wanted to buy Bald Truth Talk, and they wanted to turn it into a review site and connect it to their current site. I think to myself, I should have fucking sold it to them. What a fucking idiot. It's a nice price. But then it would have just been turned into, you know, with the Bald Truth brand, Bald Truth Talk, into a fucking shitstorm. So I decided not to do it. But now I think, in retrospect, I think I'm a fucking fool. I should just get no thank you for that, Joe.
In retrospect, I should have started a forum years ago when I first... I actually had some good domains. I should have started a forum 15 years ago like I wanted to.
Everyone's looking for a new place, though, man. So, I mean, it's never too late. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Mike in NYC.
Mike, you've been holding on for a long time. Sorry about that. We're blabbermouths today. We haven't gotten on the mic for a while.
Yeah, that's okay. I have a lot of patience tonight.
Good. What's happening?
I just thought I'd give a call and just talk about my 5.5-month update.
All right.
And,
okay. Let's hear it.
Well, it's mostly good news with a little bit of bad, but I just wanted to explain everything has been looking pretty good. The growth has been nice. The last time I called, I explained how I thought there might have been a little bit of shock loss in some of the donor, particularly the sides. Mm-hmm. I ended up getting my first haircut around the 4-month mark, and everything looked pretty damn nice when everything was cut. So that whatever was going on there either it's kind of either grown back or it never really existed. But that's not a worry. The issue is right now, and before I say this, I want to let you know I'm well aware that I'm at this point now where it's more than likely about to be the main growth part of the journey, the 6, 7, 8 month part, right? One side of the hairline is noticeably weaker than the other. It's a little concerning.
And there it is. I like your. Sorry for interrupting, but I like your pre-qualification of Now, I know I'm not supposed to be in a phase of growth. It's coming, but as it stands, one side's a little slower than the other, and there it is. Yeah. Is that the bad part? Is that the negative that you're leading up to?
Yes.
It's perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal. I can't count how many times I've heard this. But yeah, you got a lot more time for it to come in. A lot more time.
Right.
The real boost of growth. Like I always tell patients, don't expect a single hair until between 3 and 5 months. And in a lot of cases, that's true. There's this term called late grower that gained a lot of traction years ago, and a lot of people still use it. And it was used. I'd see it being used for people that were 4 or 5 months out and didn't really have any change. And as I said back then, I'll say it today. No one can say that's a late growing situation, because it's not. That's actually about the average. A lot of the cases that you see where it's sprouting through at 2 months or 3 months with noticeable improvements, those are outliers. Those aren't the norm. That might be a little bit more common than in the past, but it's still not the majority of cases out there. So when cases like you come along and you're 5.5 months and you're happy with the progress, but one side is not quite as far along as the other, it's completely normal, and it will even out. Usually by month 8, you got plenty of time, and even then, it gets better and better. So I smiled when when he said that, because I figured that was going to be probably one of the things that you would bring up.
Just there have been obviously I'm a recovering forum junkie, I'll say, and but that's one of the things you see a lot. You see that one side just never quite makes it, but I have spoken to a lot of people where it does even out. I guess like I felt I was maybe different because, and I mentioned this last time, it's like I was an early grower, and I also didn't even lose. I only lost about 50% shedding, so I lucked out. I lucked out there, so I kind of feel like I'm almost in a weird way more far along than normal, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So like that's where the concern might come from.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. So right now, at the 5-month mark, even with the weaker side, do you feel like your appearance has improved and you feel more comfortable in your own skin?
100%, right. That's the other part I wanted to get to, right. So the story with me is that if you remember, I'm not on the finasteride, so we went with this probably the most conservative hair transplant you would have ever seen. So basically, my hair now looks like what it did when I dolled it up for a half hour with Topic and fibers. Only now I don't have to, even at this point now, 5.5 months, I don't even have to put Topic into my front hairline. Maybe a little bit on that weak side.
Fucking awesome,
but
man.
Yeah. So that's, I got the back of the mid scalp and crown, which is, I'll get to that. So the thing is, the only other, it's not really, this is quote unquote bad news, but like, I do wish I did go a little lower, and not even for the hair greed part of it, just the fact that like, if you saw this, you would say the same thing. Yeah, you could have gone a little lower. But what happened was, we didn't do obviously an in-person consultation, and a lower hairline was drawn originally, and it kind of spooked me. And like I went back and I said, I want that very conservative one. I do wish I went a little lower.
You're better off, man. So, you're better off. It's possible that if you made it a little lower, then you'd be like, did I make it too low? And you can't take that away.
Yeah, not with this. If you saw this, you would. Yeah, I mean, it's by the time look, I don't want to even sound like I'm like negative. Like I am happy. I am like with this whole thing. Yeah,
too late though. By the way.
Yeah, too late, man.
Well, the good. This is my second part I wanted to go over really quick. The good news, and I say that with quote unquote good news, is that I have to go back for a second surgery one day anyway. When that will be, I don't know for sure, but that could be an option. At the same time, the bad news part of it is I have probably the greatest hairline transplant that I could describe to you guys. Like I hit the hairline jackpot as far as the transplant goes. So
Nice.
it's like and being like a big transplant nerd leading up to this, like I look into the mirror and it's like, wow, like that was my biggest concern in all of this. That it wasn't even like so much the growth. It was just like, if it's growing, will it look natural? All that kind of stuff. Even more of a concern than, would it be painful? Would this suck? Would that suck? I just wanted to make sure when I did my hair and styled it, was it going to look like, okay, this guy had something done? Like, I'm telling you, it's just like flawless. So do I lower it that one day when I go back in a couple of years, or maybe a year? That's the big question.
Look, when it's fully grown out, you may be surprised that even a slight change in hair shaft diameter is going to make it look like the hairline is even lower. That is a real possibility.
Absolutely, and I've thought of that myself, as far as, because when I put the topic into that other side, it kind of evens out. There's points where it's like, you know what, this is pretty nice. I mean, my face is framed now anyway, better than it ever was, obviously. But once that 10-month mark hits, my plan is to just obviously wait to that and see where we're at, and hopefully it evens out and it gives that illusion that it is nice and it is a little lower, right?
Well, and it does provide an illusion, and there's even more of a little bit of a. It's almost like an undershadow. As that hair density increases, as the hair shaft diameter increases, it will look slightly lower. I don't know if Joe's seen a lot more newer transplants in person, but I have seen, countless people have sent me their images over the years, and that is a very noticeable thing to me. I always notice, like, once it's fully grown out, the hairline looks slightly lower than when it was placed.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely anticipate that. I'm just, hoping that it all goes smooth sailing for the next 4 months left of this. And I think, I'm hopefully heading into that now.
And that's also based on the angles of where it was placed. Because some guys, even if the hairline looks like it was placed well, if the angle of the graft exits aren't just really, done perfectly, then you're not going to get that effect.
And that's something I've had a lot of people ask me about, or even complain about. Like, my hairline's too high, and all they have is the outline and the discoloration from the wounding of the recipient site creation. 3 months later, they're not happy with the height of the hairline, but then a year later, when everything's not just grown in, but the density has been established, it looks like it's a centimeter lower, and it's just a trick that's played on the eyes by having all the hair, where before it was just an outline of placement. And I don't know how to describe it as a illusion, but that's exactly what it is. It's an illusion of the aesthetics, and it does look lower once everything fills in and you have density. So give that time. Like, you may not have any issues with the height of the hairline once it's all said and done.
Sure. I sure hope not. I hope when I give you a call with that final update, I'm just telling you all about it.
Well, first of all, I'm thrilled that this is the call that we're getting, because let me tell you something. When you told me you were going under the knife, man, I texted Joe. I'm like, this is going to be bad. This is not going to be good.
So, well, I mean, it's still, given my state, I don't know. I mean, you're talking about because I'm not on medication, obviously, right?
That, and also, the admitted anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Where I went was something that someone. Well, I guess I could just tell you where I went at this point. I mean, it's everything's looking pretty good. I mean, would you think it's okay to talk about that? Even though I spoke,
of course.
I just feel funny because, like, everything went amazing. It's okay, someone connects the doctor to, oh, well, he's at 5.5 months and the hairline doesn't even out yet, so I feel a little uneasy, but I guess it's okay.
What's okay? Saying who the doctor is?
Right.
So do whatever you want, man. What do you got to feel uneasy? No one knows who you are.
So I went to Bruno Ferreira.
I can't believe you went to Bruno.
You what? You went to Bruno? Oh my God. Shit. I'm sorry, dude. I'm so sorry.
No, first of all, that guy could
just
shred.
Shake your head.
He could shred, by the way. This guy could play guitar. And he's a very talented hair transplant surgeon. So good for you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you my opinion on your choice.
Yeah.
I think it was fantastic. Yeah. I've known Bruno for 9 years, going on 10 years. I consider him a friend. We hang out every time we meet up at these hair conferences. He's a good guy. Yeah. Like not just talented, but as a person. And yeah, you went to one of the best. He's
too cheap to apply to the IHRS. I'm just saying. But I will always recommend him.
Yeah. So no, he every single thing was great. I really can go on probably for an hour about it. I don't want to sound like a show, but I had serious anxiety going into this for all the reasons we spoke about.
Well, I'm really glad. He's an easy guy to talk to. I mean, it would be great if he would support, educating consumers and all that stuff. But whatever, he's still good at what he does.
Yeah. So, definitely a great doctor. Definitely knew what he was doing, and the whole staff made me feel super comfortable that day, and put me at ease. The second I walked in there, really, because I had, just a lot of concerns that had nothing to do with him; it had to do with me. So
sure. Well, I'm really glad it went well. I think that you made a great choice. You didn't go on the cheap either, which is really smart, and you still had to travel. So I think that it was all in all. I couldn't be happier for you, and I'm just hoping that we don't get a call in 5 months and you're like, "It's really good, but."
Well, yeah. I think with me, there's always going to be a but, because I'm ultimately going to lose more hair, and I'm ultimately going to always have, concerns about, when do I have to go back? Because the journey it's been a lot. It's been, mentally going through this, and basically lived under a hat for like 2.5 months.
Dude, tell me about it. I just had to listen to you, and it stressed me out.
Yeah, but no, it really is. Some people are better than others, but for me, it was. It's been a journey, but yeah, that's part of it.
I'm just busting your balls. That's what I do. But I am thrilled for you, and this is going to be life-changing for you, brother. And I think this is an example of someone who waited. Forget about your neuroses. I'm neurotic myself. Who waited, who did their research, who continued to call the program on a consistent basis to ask the right questions, made the right choice.
Yeah.
And, even though you're not on medication, this can still improve your... How old are you now?
38.
Okay. So you're not that young. You're young enough. You're still young to enjoy,
your life.
In
hair transplant world.
But in hair transplant world, you're a good age.
Right.
And while we don't know what's going to happen while you're not on medication, I would say that the grafts that were moved will probably last you a long, long time, and you can get to my age and probably feel pretty good about yourself.
But you will admit, and you would say that this is just a battle that's won for me. Like the war is not over for me by any means. Like I will be back in the chair one day. Like you know that.
Oh,
right?
You will have another hair transplant. It's not if,
right.
It's
That's
when.
the unfortunate part.
It's when.
I know. But for right now, it's pretty smooth sailing. Yeah.
And you better hope that Bruno's music career doesn't take off, and he's still just doing surgery.
Yeah, I saw he was wailing on the electric guitar at whatever, I think some event, because I kept looking at his Instagram leading up to it, trying to
Yeah, it was probably at the Istanbul conference for World FUE Institute in June. I was there, and let me tell you, the ladies love Dr. Bruno. That's for sure. He gets up there, he's already a good-looking guy, and he gets up there and starts shredding his axe. Game over. All the other guys can go home. All the ladies want to hang out with Bruno.
What about that? What's his name?
It's funny to watch.
The Korean doctor who shreds, What is his name?
Oh, Bake. Dr. Bake.
Yeah, he's actually...
he's really good, too.
He presented at the Global Hair Loss Summit this year. And I kind of wish... It was a great talk, but he could have added a little guitar at the end. It made it a little more fun. All right, Brother Mike, listen, take care. We're going to take more calls. I'm so happy for you. My audience wants me to get drunk I can't do it. I've been drinking for like 2 weeks straight after the conference, or a week straight. How long has it been, Joe? I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
A couple weeks, I think.
Just really quick, one last thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, even though like he wasn't a number one factor in determining where to go, because I researched it a shitload, but like I just wanted to thank Mr. Rolandes because he has a great YouTube channel in general.
Yeah.
That like kind of really, you know, it made me feel like, you know, a little better about things.
Look, he recently became a trusted content creator. Well, really not recently for us, recently for him, because it took him fucking forever to post about it. But, you know, there's a reason why we chose him. And it is because he's providing you guys with really solid information. Even though his doctor's not a member of the IHRS and refuses to support what we're doing, whatever. Anyway, I like Bruno hearing that. But he does Mr. Rolandes does a great job, and he's he's a sincere guy. And he's kind of funny sometimes. I like watching his stuff. So,
well, thanks, guys.
I'm glad it helped you out.
Yes, thank you for taking the call. Have a great holiday, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, take care.
Joe.
Congratulations.
All right.
Take care, man. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Well, he's going to have a good Christmas.
Yes, he is.
It's fantastic. I like the question. You know, I mean, do you think I'm going to need another hair transplant? It's not if.
It's when.
It's when. 888-659-3727. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Joe. I don't know if you guys remember me. This might have been a couple years ago. I called in Justin from Florida.
Justin from Florida? I think I do remember.
Justin, yeah, you always had the bad cell connection.
Yeah, I finally got a new cell phone after how many years that was? Like 3 or 4?
There you go.
That's
Welcome
right,
to the 21st
man.
century, Justin.
This is the first time I actually ever really heard your voice clearly. Welcome.
I know, right?
Hey, first time in a while, yeah.
So what's up?
Yeah, what's your guys' opinion on S&P? Because I'm looking at it because I say I'm probably like 70-80% committed to getting it, but I just want like a second opinion, thoughts on it. So,
my thoughts.
Yeah.
What does your hair look like currently?
I said a Norwood 3, like the M shape.
Okay, and you're fine with shaving your head down completely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just adding just want like add a frame to the face.
Okay. What's your skin tone?
Dark, black African American. Yes, probably brown skin. Yep.
Okay. Well, I would say that you have an advantage for SMP, and but I am not particularly a fan of permanent SMP because, and it's really never really permanent because the color changes slightly and things bleed, and when you go in, you have problems. But anything that's going to stick around for a long time, at least in the experience that I've had as far as people contacting us, in time, you develop this confluence of color as you need things touched up. I think the beauty of having a trichopigmentation, which really is, I don't know, Joe, what you think about this, but it seems to be becoming more overshadowed with more permanent SMPs now.
Oh, yeah. Because there aren't as many clinics performing trichopigmentation. There's only one place where you can learn how to properly perform it as a procedure, because it does have a different needle type, needle depth. The machine itself has a different frequency of oscillation. It's a completely different, I mean, it looks the same, but it has a completely different support system to actually perform it. And most people don't want to fly to Milan and pay for Beauty Medical and Milana Lardi, the originator, to train them. They want to take the short route. They want to go someplace local that is usually manned by someone from the tattoo industry that had no formal training, and they think, you know what, there's more money in training than there is in bringing on patients, and so they'll do both.
That's actually interesting.
That's the majority. The majority of the cases that I see out there are performed by these types of, I'll call them operators. It's interesting. I used to be deeply involved in the S&P industry probably 6 years ago, and it's the only industry that I found that is profoundly more corrupt, more disgusting than the hair surgery industry. It's really bizarre, actually. I actually stopped dealing with it because of some really nasty people that I just didn't want to deal with, and apparently I was going to have to if I stuck around in it. So that's what you're dealing with today.
You really brought down the room with that, man. I got to say.
I'm telling you, it is a bad industry, and to find someone that is really wanting to do the right thing, turning people away, making sure they're educated about the realities of what they're about to get themselves into, it's a rare thing. To this day, the only people, and just for full disclosure, I don't follow it very closely any longer, but the people that I trust, I sent my high school best friend to Eric at a Head Inc. in New Jersey, and he was over the moon. And Eric told me that it was the single most difficult case that he'd ever dealt with because he's naturally a pasty white guy that has a lot of sun damage. It's actually the guy that talked me into going to have a hair transplant consultation with him that led me down the road of having 2 bad hair transplants, the mini micrografting.
Dude, why did you send Eric? Why didn't you send him some guy down in Florida and fuck him up?
Because I thought Eric would be drunk, but he wasn't.
Well, listen,
no.
Dude, so let's answer this guy's question. Yeah. And we're going off into a tangent, and I understand it because I could talk about this forever. But my view is, if you're going to have your head tattooed, you want to do it that's with something, you want to have a back door. You want to be able to get out. And the only way to do that is to have trichopigmentation. It will eventually fade. And then if you don't like it at all, it'll fade to nothing in time. But you have to be committed to going in and having things retouched. The beauty of it, having trichopigmentation retouched, is you can wait till it fades a little bit. You could still maintain the outline of your hair. It's just kind of going to look like maybe you cut it even shorter for a while, and then you can go in and you can get it retouched, and it'll have be a little bit more dynamic again. But the permanent inks, fuck, whoever tells you that shit doesn't turn colors, they've not done this long enough. Even the truest blacks will turn grayish blue in time.
I'll tell you a funny story. I remember most of the places that were opening up offering SMP 6-7 years ago, 5 years ago. They would all have the disclaimer that their ink lasts for 7 years or 10 years, or insert number of years here. Not a single clinic that was making that claim on their website had been open long enough to actually know if that was true. They've been open for 2 years, and they're saying, oh, yeah, it'll last for 7 years. How the fuck do you know that? If you just got trained, you just opened.
100%. It's ridiculous. There's a company out here that at one point wanted to do business with me, and it would have been like, again, my father probably rolled over in his grave again, but it would have been a really good financial opportunity if I would have decided to do it. And everyone loves SMP there. Everyone wants to get SMP. I didn't do it. And I'm glad that I didn't. And this was relatively early on in the SMP game. All I see walking around Los Angeles are these kids, or now they're men, who had SMP back in the day. And it literally looks like they're wearing a helmet, even from a distance. It is not good, man. So, and that's because they've gone for years and they've had to get stuff retouched and recolored, and there's confluence of color that starts to happen. So this is not the shit on SMP. I think that it's a great adjunct. It's great for scars. It's great for the right person. Like, you are probably a person who can go with a really kind of a low, tight hairline that, when... Or are you Hispanic? Are you black?
Oh, black, yeah, black, yeah.
Okay, I forgot. I know you said you were dark. Your options, I think, are a lot better than the average Caucasian. Even You know, I'd say if you're Hispanic or black, they can really create a very commanding frame that makes sense. My whole issue is the permanent stuff is not the way to go. So if you decide to do it, I would, and again, I think that company, Head Inc., is a great place. They're in New York, though. You have to fly to New York to get it done. I would consider that, or if there's anybody local that's doing trichopigmentation, I would consider that.
I would also recommend, God, I forgot her name, Nicole at Shapiro Medical, if you ever have any contacts to meet up with in Minneapolis. She's amazing and ethical. Both of them are. Eric and Nicole.
So what are your thoughts about everything we just spilled on you?
Yeah, I love it, man. I love the honesty, because before it's like the whole pain and stuff is the whole thing, but I had so many questions about long term, because it's like short term, yeah, that's cool, but long term, that's my main questions about it. Cause I was like, because I went to one guy, because I live about an hour from Orlando. One guy was charging like $800, $700, and I tried to get more information about him. He just short, and I'm like, yeah, that's a red flag right there. Oh, I said, what about long term? He's just look at my pictures, portfolio on Instagram. I'm like, long term, and just short answers. I'm like, yeah, that's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that Florida, in general, when it comes to cosmetic surgery or this type of procedure or cosmetic makeup and all that stuff, big red flags in Florida.
Yeah.
It's like the UK. Florida is like the UK when it comes to hair and all these procedures.
Here's a little trick. Here's a little trick to learn the truth about a lot of these places that you're talking about, and this applies to hair restoration clinics too. If it's a place you've never heard of, like you've been doing your research, and you know there's maybe for several months, and you constantly run into new places that you hadn't heard of before. Do what's called a Who Is search on their website. And what you can find out on a Who Is search, it's one word, WHOIS. And what that allows you to do, it allows you to look at the domain name of the clinic that you're considering. And it'll tell you when the domain name was originally registered, not just renewed, because they're renewed every year or sometimes every 5 years, depending on how much they want to, how badly they want to secure it long term. But I say this because multiple times I've had people ask me about not so much S&P clinics, but hair restoration clinics. What do you know about this? What do you know about that? And I have a look at the website, and it's obvious that they're not serious about hair restoration, or they just haven't been around very long. So I'll do a Who Is search on their domain name, and they've been open for 2 years. You can't have a lot of experience after being only open for 2 years. And of course, you look at the practitioner, like in hair restoration, you want to look at the doctor. You want to see how long it's been since they've actually graduated medical school. And another one I was looking at, the guy just graduated medical school a year before the domain name was registered, and he was still being listed at multiple universities as or not universities, but other companies where he was working underneath them for other surgeries other than hair restoration, like either dermatology or cosmetic surgeries of some sort, like rhinoplasty, stuff like that. And so it tells you, like in the case of hair restoration surgery, that they're just a name, that they might be involved with surgeries, but they're just using the name to lend some credibility to the clinic. Yeah, it's a doctor. We have a doctor working here, when he's not really working there, or he's got some sort of vested interest in the clinic, but he doesn't really do anything. Same thing with S&P clinics. Look to see how long they've been around. Look at their domain name. When did they first register?
I'll make it even easier. And thanks for that nap, by the way. I'm going to make it even easier, Joe.
You're welcome.
Do not even consider anybody else except for people who are doing trichopigmentation. There's a small handful of people in the U.S., and that's it. I know it's a pain in the ass to get in the car, get on a plane, but this is something that's going to change your appearance. and that you're going to have to live with for at least, especially with temporary, a year, 2 years, whatever. But if you get permanent, you got to live with that shit. And then if it doesn't work out, you got to have that shit lasered off.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
I think you have all the information you need.
That's our gift to you, my friend.
All right, brother. Listen, let us know what you decide to do. Do not get your head actually tattooed permanently. That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha. Will do, man. Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Have a happy Merry Christmas, guys.
Happy holidays, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.
Merry
Take care.
Christmas. Take care. I like that people are not afraid to say Merry Christmas on our show.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't even understand that shit.
I actually made that decision the other day. Like I'm not holding back. It's up to the person if they want to say it back to me or say something else. It's fine.
Happy the day that Christ was born. Day. 888-659-3727. You saw my Christmas tree, yo.
Yeah.
I don't fuck around.
Exactly. That's right, man.
My menorah that I lit last night.
And let's just be honest. That's just greed. You want presents from everything.
Absolutely.
And that's the way I should do it.
Look,
that's what I'm doing it next
Jews
year.
didn't give the whole Hanukkah gift thing. That's because we little kids felt left out. It's not a thing to give gifts on Hanukkah. That's not part of the Jewish religion.
No.
Not that I didn't like it when I was a kid, except the time my mother got me an 8-pack of crayons and I lost it on her. But whatever. To this day, I feel bad about that. Anyway, 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Wow. Is that my headset? I heard some crackling. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Happy fucking Christmas. It's Adrian from Melbourne.
Hey, man.
Hey.
Happy fucking Christmas,
man.
Hey, Joe. How you doing, buddy?
How are you, Adrian?
Good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm good. I've missed the show, guys. I've just literally got on the phone now and just been on hold. And in terms of your last call regarding SMP or Trico, research it like you would a hair transplant.
Well, you are a guy who had SMP, and you felt it was successful.
That's right.
For your
and
for the time that you had it done.
Yeah, and that came out of talks with Joe, and I just took the attitude of researching it like I would a hair transplant. I mean, I would have flown to the States or the UK or Europe or whatever. It's just I was lucky that I found someone that kind of ticked all the boxes in terms of the volume of work she had under her. This is Caitlin James from SMP Australia, and she was very candid and open, and for me, and with scars, for me that made the decision as well. But really do your homework. Like people who get it, SMP or Trico, if they're smart. If it's a friend of a friend, forget it. You wouldn't do that with graphs. Why would you do it with ink?
The shit that I see being promoted on Instagram or on Facebook.
Yeah,
it's like the fact that these clinics are proud of that. I mean, you could see the tattoo marks from a mile away. It doesn't look anything close to being natural. And this is what people think.
Absolutely.
And guys, young guys, they're willing to get it done. It's amazing. And the number of young guys that I see walking around here in Los Angeles with very obvious SMP, not anything like I have to be within a social distance to see it. I'm talking about, several feet away walking down the street or walking across the street. Even common law now is able to just spot. She'll hit me she'll say, tap me on the shoulder and say, check that out. Like SMP disaster, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why Caucasians think they need these juvenile, rap-looking, low buzz-cut SMP hairlines is beyond me. I just don't get it, And that, to me, that's a big fault of the artist, quote unquote, for even doing that, even if it was requested. But But I'm good, guys, and it looks like from social media what I've seen that the Global Hair Loss Summit was a huge success.
And
my God.
It was.
Yeah, it was huge.
And I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that you're saying that. And again, you know what's funny about this summit? I love the fact, first of all, you got to thank, Common Law for actually creating all of the content for our online presence, creating everything actually for the summit. She's just, besides being the co-author of my life for such a long time, I mean, she's just an amazing, talented, just a gifted person that, we could not have ever pulled this off these last 3 years if she didn't come to the table, because if we had to hire somebody outside, never would have happened like this. Yeah. No fucking way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't shocked that the third year would be the most attended. I wouldn't say fully shocked. I kind of thought we had momentum, but everyone was saying, well, you guys did really well the first year because it was pandemic and all the conferences were closed, so that's why you did so well. And I was like, I don't know. And then the second year we did 50% greater attendance. And this year I kind of thought things would level off, but we blew up. So now I got to do this every fucking year. I'm like, what a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you're a victim of your own success.
Yeah,
I think it's a good format the way you're doing it.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. I mean, were you able to sneak in somehow? I'm cool if you did.
Oh, I watched some stuff that was on Instagram.
Okay.
I saw bits and pieces.
Okay, very
what
cool.
I could, but I thought I saw you two guys chatting with Dr. Bevan Boyrell and a few other things, and it was good.
Well, we need to have an avenue, and have like perspective from every perspective or point of view, I should say. So when we're out there providing people with information, we're not just a couple of guys who, like Joe had a hair transplant talking about it, or a guy that wrote a book, or a guy that has a radio show for so many years. We understand every aspect of the industry. We're educating physicians now. We're about to launch and I can't really speak, I hate being cryptic, but we're about to launch a publication that is going to be specifically for physicians in the industry as well. So we have, that outlet. And, like Joe's worked at a clinic, Joe's had hair transplants, and we deal with consumers. So we're able to provide people with in-depth information from every angle of this industry. And that's really why we're doing it.
Yeah, and that's where you've got to hit it, is with the people who are doing these surgeries and these people who are selling them. Because, if we can educate them, then hopefully that'll cascade down and get to the consumer. Well, as it should anyway, regardless.
We're hoping that's the case, but it's really hard, man. I mean, these doctors in general, they just they're getting in this purely because they're being sold a bill of goods by device manufacturers, and they see it as like ancillary income, turnkey income. They can just hire a bunch of techs, buy a machine, and it can make an extra $10,000 or $20,000 a day, which is true.
I know. And
go ahead.
And you both know my thoughts on some of the credibility of people who've attended the Global Hair.
Oh, sure. And that was a really good heads up. But like I told you, the reality is there are physicians. One physician who's a grand poobah of the ISHRS, who had at one point lost his license for something that I thought was pretty egregious, like really bad.
Yeah.
Not just, lying to somebody. And, this is the nature of, sadly, medicine. This is definitely the nature of this industry. And if there are people who are able to communicate well, who do have their medical licenses and are in this game, then, it's a lot different than, recommending a surgeon, so to speak, to allow them to be a part of a summit to educate their contemporaries.
That's right. And I guess it just also serves to tell the truth that once you sell your credibility, you can never buy it back. And I sprout this sort of stuff on forums, and I'm loved and I'm hated for it. But I don't care. That's not the point. The point is that people need to know the truth, and it's on public record, and people really need to do the research for that very reason. Yeah.
So there's doctors out there who you would never know. They have mugshots online. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they're good. And these are good surgeons. They're good at what they do, but they fucked up at some point in their life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's nothing else really. I am having a hair transplant, I should add, with Dr. Pradeep in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Really? Yeah, we're just going to do a little on the. Yeah, we're going to do a little on the crown.
Well,
Okay.
you and I have to communicate. We're not going to talk about what we're going to do, but I definitely want to. Well, I could say I'm going to be interviewing Adrian, and I think that's, I'm excited about that. And
Yeah,
you were
I'm
gracious
looking
enough.
forward to it. I am too.
You were gracious enough to say that you'd come on Face Forward, because you're out there Face Forward talking to everybody anyway. But we want people to know the reality of this surgery in a way that sometimes Joe and I, we do our best to communicate it, but it can be, I think, more effective and more efficient coming from a guy like you who really lived an entire life fucked up because of hair transplant surgery. And it wasn't like Joe, who got repaired pretty early on, relatively. I mean, he had 9 years of, fucked upness.
Yeah.
You had like 20.
Well, that's right. Well, Joe had to wear those mini grafts for 9 years or whatever. Mine was, I was able to camouflage it, but it involved wearing a wig. I was just lucky that I was prepared to do that.
Yeah.
And having the scars from several different surgeons to get rid of them, so to speak, was a good excuse to wear a wig. And I would use that sometimes and say, well, look at this scar. And they go, oh, my God. The focus would go off the hairpiece.
Right.
But yeah, that fucked me up. I mean, just the cost a lot. 25 years of hairpieces. It's not cheap. Let alone the stigma and whatnot. But I was lucky I had the personality to kind of pull it off. I made fun of it, and I'd give it a name, whatever. And
I admire that about you, man.
I don't know today if with all it's heightened, this whole social media with Instagram and appearances, and chicks with great bodies, except they've got massive butts, and that is now the stock standard benchmark to aspire to. It's different. And I
ask you that big butt thing. I got to be honest with you, man.
I don't get it. I don't get it, man.
It is. Listen, if it's a natural thing and you like the woman and she looks good all around, that's fine. But I'd prefer, someone a little more athletic, with a nice normal butt. Like if someone's complaining about their butt is too small, it's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
a girl in Levi's, you can really pull it off without having to walk sideways through a fucking door.
Yeah, I know. Look, if a girl's born with a 4x4 butt and she's embracing it, that's great.
Yeah.
But for me, not so much.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and I'm not even judging it. I just don't understand it. It's just not for me, man.
Yeah, no, same
maybe
here.
I'm old.
Same here. Yeah, I'll go half that, but no, all of it's too much. But anyway, I'm
we'll talk.
Up with Pradeep, and I'll get back to you on how that goes. And
okay.
You and I will communicate before then, but I'm really happy for you, man.
Sure.
I'm really glad that you found your person, as far as your your clinic and your surgeon, and that you've had success to this degree so far.
Yeah, and I'm grateful too, Spence, for asking me to do this, because I also want people to know that they don't have to put their life on hold until they're perfect. So if that means they're waiting for a repair or they've got to wait until a certain age, I don't want them to waste those years like I did. I mean, looking back, I still got laid. Looking back, I probably had to sharpen my personality a little bit more, whatever. But end of the day, we only have this one life, and if I didn't have the scars, I wouldn't be getting hair now. It's for me, it's more about the scars, so to speak, and and other things. But I just, if what I've gone through, if that can benefit one person, then it's all been worth it. It really has. Because,
well, it will. We're going to be doing
a lot more than one.
We're going to be doing a whole series, and we're going to actually put it on. I'm going to put it on my own channel, which is there's really nothing on it, and Joe will promote that on this channel, and vice versa. And it's going to be, I think, a way for people to finally just recognize the reality of it. You know, it's one thing when people call in, we hear their voices and they're asking questions. I mean, that's great. It's powerful. We've created a really good audience over the years. And when we were on the radio, it was just like we were in every market in the U.S. and then we went up to Canada and we were on XM. It was great. Helped a lot of people. What Joe's doing and what we're doing with the Bald Truth every week on his channel is incredibly impactful. But I do think that adding a new dimension could really tie it all together, and that's what I want to try.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you're going to be my first interview.
Yeah, pleasure's mine. And Joe, by the way, that was a great video you did on Dr. Baisha.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Really
got more.
enjoyed it.
I got several more. I got a great interview with her. I got several more, three more patients, I think I talked to.
Yeah,
two or three.
She's good.
And
she's good at what she does. Man.
Yeah, she's fun to talk to. She's actually a blast.
Yeah,
she's hilarious, and she has a good staff too. Fun to talk to.
All right, Adrian, man.
She's a lovely lady. I chat with her a bit too on WhatsApp, and I'm really glad you're covering her. But I'll let you guys go. I wish you both a happy Christmas.
Yeah,
and
Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas. And I'll check in with you, man. But I know that you have your surgery in 3 weeks, so you know we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll be after surgery, maybe it'll be before. Up to you. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either way,
you take care.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Bye bye.
You too. Thanks, Joe.
See you, Adrian. Bye bye.
We have some more time. 888-659-3727. Yeah, it's like I was supposed to like really stick to my fucking lifestyle today, which is, you know, mostly eating meat and, you know, whole food and all that shit. And I want to order a fucking pizza.
I'm this whole weekend, I'm drinking, I'm eating all kinds of stuff. Like, yeah, it's.
I had pizza last night too. I had pizza last night. Pizza does sound good, but tonight, after we wrap up, I actually have to go drive to the special deli and pick up a bunch of food for Christmas. Well, I can tell you, I mean, that's cool. It sounds like it's going to be fun. But I know Mr. Alondas knows this, man, because he works out. I had that pizza last night. And whatever the glycogen, whatever is in my fucking muscles, I woke up this morning like fucking jacked. You know? And it's those fucking heavy carbs and salt and, you know, just all just flows in there. Now, I wish I can do that and it'd be healthy for me. Maintain that extra, like, swollenness. Not in your face, though. You don't want it in your face. But, like, in your muscles. But I can't eat that way. I end up feeling like shit. Anyway. I know what I'm talking about, Joe.
I get it.
Maybe Rolandus wants to call and talk about that at some point. He gets it.
No, I get it. I prefer for that carb hit and the effects that you get.
Caller, hold on. I know that you heard me, that I picked up, but Joe's continuing this conversation.
I prefer a pie. Like a cherry pie.
Cherry pie is good.
Like Arnold used to do.
Yeah.
He would go and he would do a hard workout. He and
Franco Colombo.
What's his name? Franco Colombo, and they would go straight to a diner and both sit there and just devour a pie, and that was one of the secrets to his routine. That and lots of steroids.
Yeah, well, you know, it worked for him. Caller, you're on the air, man. What can we do for you?
Hello.
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 Hello, you sexy boys.
Who's this?
Oh, First time you didn't recognize my voice.
Oh, you know what?
Dr. Cole.
You're throwing on an English accent. What's up, Doc?
Well, I just wanted to congratulate you on your GHLS program.
Oh, thank you, sir. I wish
Thank
you
you
were.
very much.
I really appreciate your opening remarks. You were great, but I wish you were able to get your talk in. But if you ever want to do it, we can kind of put you in the on-demand spot. So it's
that'd be good. I just couldn't get my son out of the ocean.
Yeah,
he was free diving, and you should see his eyes. He blew his eyes wide open.
Oh wow!
Blew every capillary in his eyeball.
You sure that was from diving?
Yeah. He was catching stone crabs and spearfishing and all that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's good fun.
Well, Morty sounds happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw Morty this morning. We had a good time. Yeah.
Well, he sounds
nice.
very thrilled that he had a second procedure, and he did a great job for him for his first, and he seems very grateful. And I got to tell you, Doc, the results have been so far incredible.
I want to put. Yeah. I got his.
This is a really bald dude. This was a Norwood 6'7", never coming back. 6.
Yeah.
I guess about a 6.
Well, he had a good response to regenerative, and but of course, you can't grow grass on the sidewalk.
Right.
Most of his scalp was bald.
Yeah. It was like Formica. We have him on the screen right now. It was like a Formica top. He was so bald for a long time.
Yeah. It was big.
Doc, I'm looking at his. Sorry, I'm looking at his immediate post-op that he sent to me, and I'm seeing the grid that you drew, and on I think it's his right side, just above the mastoid processes here, he's got this grid that this one box that you didn't go into. Is that because the density was already low? Like you didn't want to take any from there?
Well, Morty's case was kind of special. It moved fast. Okay, so we did about 4,000 grafts, and the first day I had to kill it early because I had to leave around 3 or 4 p.m. And then the second day we got started early, and then I had to stop it and go for an eye exam and come back, dilated, and finish the surgery.
That is hilarious. I hope you didn't tell Morty that you can see.
Well, I could see.
I'm just kidding.
I could see, or I wouldn't have done it. But, it was one of those where I could have done it all in one day, but I had to split it. And so what you're looking at is like day one, the end of day one, where we didn't finish. Now, the second time through, this last surgery was, just kind of touching on his first surgery, because I think this is interesting to those who are, interested in hair loss, is he had a really high telogen hair rate. Like, we started out in the mid-occipital area with around 17, 18%, and the average is about 7, 8.
Interesting.
And I was like, wow, this is concerning. And then as I moved laterally, we pushed up close to 30%. And then inferiorly, we had around close to 30%. So that was very concerning. So then what we did is we did a telogen hair study where I moved 80 grafts where every hair in each graft was in telogen, just to see what happens, because we know with body hair in particular that the yield from body hair grafts that are in telogen is a little bit lower than grafts in anagen.
Can you qualify that when you're saying body hair grafts? Are you including beard in that, or are you strictly talking about chest and back, or everything below the neck?
when you look at beard hair, almost everything's an antigen. In fact, when you come across a telogen hair or a catagen hair on the beard, it's a little bit unusual. You're like, oh, wow, telogen hair.
Yeah.
And of course, with telogen hairs, they rise up close to the intersection between the subcutaneous fat and the dermis. They're right at that intersection point, about 2 millimeters deep, maybe 2.5, or 2.2, 2.3 millimeters, and so you can spot them. But on the beard, it's very uncommon. They're almost all in antigen. But on the body, 40 to 60%, anything below the neck is 40 to 60% resting phase.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at the leg hair, for example, anything below the knee is gonna it tends to fall out when people get in their 50s, especially their late 50s. So you put it in, it grows good, then it's gone. So I just quit dealing with legs. And thighs might last a little longer. I don't know. Look at your legs and see what see how much hair you have there.
I'm an unusual case because I'm like a 12-year-old Swedish boy.
There it is.
You know, so I don't have much hair on my body.
Well, I would have to say that I used to tell people you were unfortunate, but now anything below the neck, I have to say you're. That's the last.
This is about all the chest hair I have, and it's just like a little slit of chest hair. Joe has to shave his neckline.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, sometimes it works great, but it's like 1 out of 4 people when anything below the neck works well.
Yeah,
and when it works, it's great. It's a rescue, but at the same time, it certainly would be my third in line.
Well, I think the problem is especially the young guys. They read all this information, and they are, and when they contact me, they're like, we try to explain to them that not everyone's a candidate for surgery, and what makes a good candidate, and you have to be prepared for the long game. And everyone's like, well, if I just take dutasteride or finasteride, and then I get a transplant, use up all of my scalp donor, then I can go into my beard, and then I can go into my chest. It's just, they have unlimited expectations, and it's easy. And then
just throw some beard hair in it.
But when you see stuff on the internet, on Instagram, you see these, and again, mostly Turkish clinics, and they're like, you'll see a video of them drawing the outline of where they're going to be implanting the grafts on the scalp, and then they combine that with adding hair to the beard. So people walk in, they have thousands of grafts moved at one point, at one stage in one surgery, and everyone who contacts me now thinks that's the way hair transplant surgery is done. You somehow have this unlimited amount of donor that's always going to grow, and once it's moved, you're good. And as long as we've been in the game, Doc, and we've seen it all, it's never been this bad as far as not only the misinformation, but the misunderstanding and the lack of understanding of how this process works.
Well, that's true. I mean, when you get, you're in our chat group, right? And so we had this younger doctor from the Ukraine who wanted to work on a young patient in his early 20s, and he doesn't know how to really assess what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
And he went ahead with the surgery, and I think the dogma was, hey, be careful. It'll be aggressive. I had a patient it happens to me every week, but I had one come from India, really just for growth factor treatment. And he showed up last week. He had a 5-centimeter hairline, really broad. He's a class 6 now. He's in his early 20s. They want him to come back for another FUT procedure. He had a FUT plus FUE procedure to get to 4,000. Plus, they took, I think, around 100 or 200 beard hair grafts, and they want him to hit his crown.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're going to be a mess in about 20 years.
Well, even before then, I would say you see these guys who have had 5,000 or 6,000 grafts moved at in one session. They look good. I mean, I could see that they've had a relatively unnatural hair transplant, but in general, they feel much better about themselves. The density looks good 1 year out. They're willing to endorse a clinic as an influencer or whatever it is. And all these young guys are like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. They have no idea that in 5 years, this guy could be fucked. Really fucked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get in your early 20s and you go for like a mega session, you're probably becoming Joe Biden with a huge bald spot in the back.
And retrograde.
Yeah, retrograde out. I mean, he's got like a sliver of hair. He's got a strip.
Yeah.
And probably he got harvested with open donor scars. And I mean, the only thing that saved him on his hairline was that his doctor listened to the people who taught him how to do follicular unit transplants and how to create a more natural hairline.
Well, that was after probably his second or third procedure, because initially he had pretty big mini grafts.
Plugs.
You know,
he
obvious
was
plugs.
Up. He was like Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer's a disaster.
Well, it's funny. I think Chuck kind of he aged into it, where at least when you look at him face forward, a lot of people wouldn't even recognize the level of bad work.
He's got more than one session of plugs on the hairline.
Yeah.
So the game was I mean, these plugs were about the size of an eraser head.
Yeah.
And so you pull out a 4 millimeter plug, and then you make a 3.5 millimeter hole in the scalp, and you pop the plug in there. And you would try to separate by about 3.5 millimeters between each plug, and then you go back in and try to fill in the gap. So he's filled in the gap.
Yeah.
But it's still, he's got coarse hair. That helps him a lot in terms of coverage. But it's clearly a transplant. There's nothing natural about it.
No, there's nothing natural about it.
Same token, if he came in front of that with some single hair grafts and dropped it down by about a centimeter, it would change his game.
Well,
he looked so much better.
I don't I don't want to put any politics out there, but yeah, we may not want to give him that advice. But here's the thing. If you look closely, and I see it when I look at this guy closely, I'll zoom in. There's compression. You can see that there were larger grafts, like you said. There's a little bit of cobblestoning, and the thing is, he does have wiry hair, so that helps him a lot. It really covers all those defects.
Yeah.
But if you were to see him in a social environment, he'd probably really be able to pick up a lot. Like just the way sometimes when you see the light shine on his head, you can see when you have that type of rough orange peel type of thing happening, it picks up light differently.
Well, there's also the fact that you look at the back of his scalp. If you're like in the same room with him, the strip of hair that Dr. Cole mentioned, it's actually I've seen strips taken out of someone's head that's wider than the amount of hair that he has left. He doesn't even have enough hair for a small strip to be removed. It's that bad.
Yeah.
And all that's because of retrograde and all the damage it was done from the previous surgeries. So it's a miracle he looks as good as he does, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a cautionary tale.
And he also his hair loss didn't get as bad as Joe Biden. Like Joe Biden has got a strip scar back there, for sure.
Yeah.
And or he's got open donor, which I think is probably more likely. I don't know. It's kind of tough to say because he's really dropped down. He's got a real narrow band of hair growth. He's got retrograde alopecia, and he grows that hair down into the nape of his neck. He just was a bad candidate, and I mean that's somebody everybody should look at. Like his hairline looks better than Chuck Schumer's. For sure.
It does, but I think part of it is also because his hair is white and he had it slightly refined. But yeah, I mean, that's a mess too. I mean, those are both, I would say, examples of, older walking wounded. And if you were to see them in person or go through their hair, you would see how fucked up they are. But Dr. Cole, we gotta call it a night. I'm so glad you called in. And
I'm so good hearing from you.
And if it was just up to me, I would keep you on for longer. But Joe's got to go apparently. So
Well, it is
Well,
what
I
it
do
is.
too, guys.
All
I
right.
got dinner with Morty.
Oh, really?
We're
Well,
going, yeah,
Right
we're
on.
going to meet
All
up
right.
to that fish.
oh, man, that sounds great. That sounds great.
We
You know
got
what?
Abraham
Outstanding.
Lamlett in town.
Have him
So,
pick up the check for once. Let's see if he does it.
well,
Just
he
sit,
got a new job. He
Just-
told me how much he's about to start
Look.
making. I'm like,
Dude,
you might have to pick up a few dinners.
you don't even have to do it. Just sit
There
there
you
and
go.
don't go for your wallet and see if he goes for his wallet.
That's the test.
I'm really happy
That's the
for
test.
the guy. Really am.
Yeah, I am too. You did a great job on him, Doc. Listen, Merry Christmas. Thank you
Outstanding.
so much for calling in.
All right, well,
Merry
happy
Christmas, Doc.
holidays.
Thanks for calling.
Merry Christmas to all you guys.
Okay, take
care.
care. Bye-bye.
Be good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Always nice when Dr. Cole calls in. Guys, we do have to wrap it up.
100%.
Joe is out of here. He's got shit to do. He's a busy man, and, that makes me jealous. So...
That's the way it works, man.
Yeah. So all of the information on the websites are in the description on Joe's channel. If you are listening to this on a podcast, go to youtube.com/hair transplant mentor to watch us live. So subscribe to Joe's channel, ring the bell to get notifications, and you'll be able to call into the program. Until next time. Be strong. Oh, by the way, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody.
And
Enjoy
like
it.
this video.
And like the video, please.
Hit the like button, people.
Yeah. Until next time, be strong. God bless. And thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. I'm
Good night.
sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid.